Welcome to our deep dive. This time, it's into Calm the Fuck Down by Sarah Knight. You shared this book with us, right?
I did.
Hoping to kind of get a handle on worry,
Yeah.
So you can, well, actually enjoy life a bit more.
Exactly.
And I get it. We all have those moments, right, where anxiety just takes the wheel.
It's true. Everyone worries. Everyone,
Yeah.
from those everyday what-ifs to, like, the big life stuff.
Right.
But this book is all about giving you practical tools.
Okay.
Not just telling you to chill out.
Right.
Which never really works anyway, does it?
Never.
Yep.
One thing that jumped out at me, like right away,
Yeah.
is how the book defines worrying.
Uh-huh.
It's not just the feeling of anxiety, right?
Mhm.
But also this idea of constantly picking at a problem,
Yeah.
like a loose thread on a sweater.
Oh, yeah.
The more you pull at it, the worse it gets.
Exactly.
I don't know about you, but
That's
I've definitely
so
been guilty of
I think we all have.
unraveling my fair share of metaphorical sweaters.
It's a great analogy, right?
Right.
Because it highlights how we often make our anxieties worse by overthinking.
Right.
We get stuck in that loop of what ifs.
Yeah.
And end up creating more problems than we solve.
Totally. The book calls its approach the no worries method.
Yes.
And it's all about calming down and taking action.
Exactly.
Which, yeah, sounds simple, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Of course.
So let's start with the calming down part.
Okay.
How do we even begin to do that,
Yeah.
when our minds are just racing with all those what-if questions?
Well, the book actually dives into different types of worries.
Okay.
And what's fascinating is that the content matters less than the fact that they're taking up space in your head.
Oh, interesting.
Whether it's a first date mishap
Right?
or like a serious life event, that worry, it's using up your mental energy.
So it's not about judging ourselves for what we worry about.
No.
But recognizing that worry itself
Yeah.
can become the problem.
Exactly. And the book has this really reassuring message about worry.
Okay.
A lot of what we stress about just won't happen.
Really?
And for the things we can control,
Yeah.
we can actually take steps to prevent them,
Okay.
or at least lessen their impact.
So it's about, what, shifting from feeling powerless
Exactly.
to feeling empowered.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But what about the things we just can't control?
Right.
Like, say, a natural disaster.
Yeah.
Or, the sudden appearance of a tarantula on your doorstep.
Oh.
Speaking of which, the book has this wild story about the author encountering a tarantula outside her home in the jungle.
Right. Her first reaction was pure panic.
I bet.
Pure panic. She even declared she'd burn the house down if they ever found one inside.
Oh my gosh.
But then the very next day, she encountered the same tarantula again.
No way!
And her reaction was completely different.
So she didn't torch the place.
No, she didn't. What's interesting is that she was still afraid.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
this time, she was able to handle it.
Interesting.
I think this story really speaks to the idea that we can train ourselves to be less reactive
Oh, okay.
to stressful situations.
It's like exposure therapy in a way.
Yeah, sort of.
The more we face our fears, even in small doses, the less power they have over us. Have you ever noticed that in your own life?
Oh, absolutely.
How facing a fear, even a small one, can make you feel a bit more capable overall.
Absolutely. It's like building a muscle, that ability to stay calm under pressure.
I like that.
Huh?
So we've talked about how worry itself can be a problem.
Right.
And how even when things are out of our control, we can control our reactions.
Yes.
But everyone freaks out differently, right?
Absolutely. The book identifies 4 common ways people react to stress.
Okay.
Anxious, sad, angry, and avoidant.
Gotcha.
And we all have our own default setting,
Right.
the face we tend to wear when things get tough.
I like that. We'll get into those in more detail later.
Okay.
But for now, let's talk about something called freak out funds.
Yes.
What exactly are those?
Think of it like this. We all have a limited budget of time, energy, even goodwill from the people around us.
Right.
Worrying excessively drains those funds without actually solving anything.
So we're essentially wasting precious resources on anxiety
Yeah.
instead of investing them in finding solutions.
Exactly.
Or actually enjoying life.
Right. And the book makes this really important point about goodwill.
Okay.
When we constantly freak out, it can strain the patience of those around us.
That's so true.
It's like we're constantly borrowing money and never paying it back.
That's such a good point. Have you ever noticed how your own patience wears thin when someone is constantly panicking?
Oh, all the time.
Even if you care about them.
Yes,
It's a reminder that managing our anxieties isn't just about us.
absolutely.
It's about the people we love, too.
Absolutely. And the book makes it clear, if anxiety is a chronic issue,
Hmm.
it's important to seek professional help.
Right.
Sometimes we are part of the problem,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Recognizing when we need extra support is actually a sign of strength.
I love that this deep dive is honest about the fact that sometimes we need more than a self-help book.
Yes.
Now, let's circle back to that first step of calming down.
Okay.
You mentioned mental decluttering earlier.
I did.
How does that fit into the picture?
Well, imagine your mind is like a cluttered room.
Okay.
It's hard to find anything.
Right.
You just feel stressed and overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah.
Mental decluttering is about getting rid of unhelpful thoughts and organizing the rest.
Okay.
It's about creating space for clarity and calm.
So this deep dive itself is a form of mental decluttering, right?
It is, in a way.
We're sifting through the book's key ideas and figuring out what's most useful for you.
Exactly.
But how do we actually decide which worries deserve our attention and which ones we can just let go of?
That's where this tool called the shitstorm scale comes in.
Okay.
It's a way to assess the likelihood of something bad happening.
Okay.
And it has 5 categories,
Got it.
ranging from, like, highly unlikely to inevitable.
So it's not about the severity of the worry,
No.
but how likely it is to actually happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the book uses this great analogy about skiing.
Oh, okay.
The likelihood of breaking your leg while skiing depends on your skill level
Makes sense.
and how often you do it.
Yeah.
If you're a beginner who only hits the slopes once a year,
Right.
the probability is much lower than for someone who's on the Black Diamond runs every weekend.
That makes sense. So how do we actually apply this shitstorm scale to our own lives?
Yeah.
Is it about making a list of all our worries
Yes.
and ranking them?
Yeah.
Because, honestly, that sounds a bit overwhelming in itself.
It can feel that way at first, but the book actually encourages you to make a what-if list
Okay.
and categorize those worries based on their likelihood. And what's really cool is that it's not just for people who are chronically anxious.
Oh, good.
Even if you only experience anxiety situationally,
Yeah.
this tool can help you develop a strategy for when things hit the fan.
It's like a fire drill for our minds.
Exactly.
Preparing us for those unexpected emergencies. But what if you have a bunch of worries all swirling around at the same time?
Yeah.
How do you even begin to sort through that chaos?
Well, the book breaks down those shitstorms
Okay.
into 3 main types
All right.
based on timing:
Gotcha.
imminent,
Mhm.
total, and outlying.
Okay, so what are those?
Imminent shitstorms are those that are about to happen.
Right.
Total shitstorms are already happening. You're right in the thick of it.
Okay.
And outlying shitstorms are those that are further off but still causing stress.
Could you give us an example of an outlying shitstorm?
Sure.
Something like most people might experience.
Imagine you totally messed up at work. Like maybe you accidentally deleted an important file
Yeah.
or sent a snarky email to the wrong person.
Oh.
But your boss is on vacation for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So the fallout is delayed.
Right.
It's not an immediate crisis,
Right.
but it's definitely looming in the back of your mind.
Oh, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
So we've got our worries categorized by likelihood and timing. What's the next step? Do we just sit there and stare at our list feeling overwhelmed?
Not at all. This is where it gets really empowering.
Okay.
The book says the next step is to ask yourself one crucial question.
All right, what's that?
Can I control it?
Okay.
This question is the key to deciding how to deal with each worry on your list.
Okay, so it sounds like we've reached a fork in the road here.
Right.
What happens if the answer is yes?
Okay.
What if I can control it?
Then it's time to move to action. You can start planning, problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
taking concrete steps to address the issue directly. This is where that second part of the no worries method comes in,
Yeah.
the deal with it part.
And what if the answer is no?
Right.
What if I'm facing a situation where I have absolutely no control over the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do then?
Ideally,
Got it.
you let it go.
Okay.
Because if you can't control the situation, dwelling on it is just going to drain your freak out funds
Right.
and leave you feeling exhausted and defeated.
Yeah.
Remember, acceptance is a huge part of calming the fuck down.
Okay.
But the book also acknowledges that sometimes letting go isn't that easy.
Right.
And that's where things get really interesting.
So we've hit that point, right, where we're like trying to accept what we can't control,
Yeah.
but our brains just won't let it go.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then?
That's where the book introduces what it calls the secret option C.
Okay.
And it's honestly one of my favorite parts.
Right.
It's called productive, helpful, effective worrying, or PHUW for short.
PHUW.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself permission to worry, but in a way that's actually well productive.
Exactly.
Tell me more.
It's not about solving the problem directly,
Okay.
but taking actions that give you a sense of control
Gotcha.
and help reduce that anxiety.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you're worried about a potential health issue.
Mm-hmm.
You can't magically make it go away, right?
Right.
But you can research reputable sources,
Okay.
maybe talk to your doctor,
Yeah.
or even just adopt some healthy habits
Right.
that make you feel more in control of your well-being.
It's like you're channeling that worry energy
Exactly.
into something positive.
Yes.
Something that actually moves you forward.
That's it.
I like that.
Yeah.
And the book gives all sorts of examples for how to use PHEW.
In different situations, let's
Mhm.
say you're stressed about a big presentation at work.
Yeah.
Instead of letting that anxiety just paralyze you,
Right.
you could use PHUW to practice your presentation.
Okay.
Research the topic even more thoroughly, or even just visualize yourself succeeding.
So PHEW is like a worry engine.
Yes.
Taking those anxious thoughts and transforming them into tools for action.
I love it.
I like it.
It's great.
But even with all these tools, sometimes shit just hits the fan, right?
No, it does, unfortunately.
How does the book address those total shitstorm scenarios
Yeah.
that we can't always prevent?
Well, it actually dedicates a whole section to what it calls the catalog of terror.
Okay.
It's full of real-life examples. And
Yeah.
what I appreciate is that it doesn't sugarcoat things.
Okay.
It acknowledges that life can be messy,
Right.
but it also shows how this framework can help us navigate those challenges
Mm-hmm.
with a bit more grace and a lot less freaking out.
I'm ready for some real-world wisdom.
Okay.
Let's dive into the catalog of terror.
All right.
Let's start with something super relatable,
Yeah.
like work stress.
Perfect. There's this one scenario in the book
Okay.
about someone accidentally sending a panicked text message to their boss
Yeah.
about a work problem, even though the boss was on vacation.
Oh, no.
I think we've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
That moment of, oh no, I should not have sent that.
Especially in today's always connected world.
Yes.
It's easy to blur those boundaries between work and personal life.
It is.
But back to the story. What happened?
Yeah.
Did the boss fire them?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
But it's a great example of how overthinking and not calming down can actually make a situation worse.
Right.
The person was worried about losing some important presentation slides,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of taking a breath and assessing the situation,
Right.
they just let their anxiety spiral out of control.
It's like they stirred the shit, as the book says.
Yes,
Creating a problem where none existed before.
exactly.
Sending that text didn't solve anything.
No.
It probably just stressed out their boss who was supposed to be, relaxing on a beach somewhere.
Exactly.
What could they have done differently?
The book emphasizes the importance of asking that crucial question. Can I control it?
Right.
In this case, the lost slides and the boss being on vacation, those are outside their control.
Right.
So instead of sending that panicked text, they could have used their energy to try and find a solution.
Okay.
Maybe a colleague had a copy of the slides.
Yeah.
Or they could have started brainstorming ways to recreate the presentation.
Okay.
It's about shifting from feeling helpless to feeling empowered.
So it's about taking a beat
Yes.
to assess the situation.
Right.
And then focusing on what you can control.
Exactly.
Even if it's just your own reaction.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's move on to another realm of potential shitstorms. Family drama.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've got some juicy examples from the catalog of terror.
Oh, yeah. The book doesn't shy away from family dynamics.
Okay, good.
There's this one scenario
Okay.
about two cousins who had a falling out.
Oh.
And the worry was how it would impact an upcoming family wedding.
Oh, I see.
I think we can all relate to that, right?
Absolutely.
Family gatherings can be a minefield of emotions,
Oh, yeah.
especially when there's unresolved conflict.
Everyone has that one relative who knows how to push their buttons.
Oh, totally.
So how did this particular wedding drama play out?
Well,
Did it turn into, a Jerry Springer episode?
not quite. But the book uses this scenario to highlight the importance of assessing the likelihood of the shitstorm actually hitting.
Okay.
Is the cousin really going to cause a scene at the wedding?
Right.
Or is this just a case of anticipatory anxiety blowing things out of proportion?
So it's about applying the shitstorm scale to family drama,
Yes.
figuring out if it's a Category 5 hurricane
Exactly.
or just a light drizzle.
That's it.
That's not.
Because sometimes just recognizing that a worry is possible but not likely
Yeah.
can help take the edge off.
Right.
But of course, some family dramas are highly likely to erupt.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do then?
Run for the hills. Hide in the bathroom.
I mean, those are options, but the book suggests a more strategic approach.
Okay.
It's about determining your RIO,
Right.
a realistic ideal outcome.
Oh, okay.
So in the case of the wedding drama,
Yeah.
maybe the RIO is about setting boundaries with the difficult cousin,
Huh?
having a conversation with other family members to, like, manage expectations, or even having an escape plan if things get too heated.
So it's about having a strategy in place.
Exactly.
Even if it's just a mental one.
Yes.
So you're not caught off guard when Aunt Mildred starts ranting about politics.
Right.
Doing the best man speech.
Exactly. And this applies to all sorts of family situations, from dealing with aging parents to navigating disagreements about finances or child rearing.
Yeah, those are big ones.
The key is to calm down,
Okay.
assess the situation, and then take action from a place of clarity, not emotional reactivity.
Okay, work stress, family drama. What else is in this catalog of terror? Give us something a bit more unexpected. A real curveball.
How about a broken bone?
Ooh, a broken bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not something we plan for,
Right.
but it's something most people experience at some point in their lives.
True.
And it's a great example of how this framework can be applied to unexpected physical challenges.
Okay, a broken bone. Definitely not on my fun things to do list.
Right.
But I see what you mean about it being a good example
Yeah.
of how to deal with unexpected shitstorms.
Exactly.
So walk me through it. What's the first step?
Okay.
Freak out because I can't go to yoga anymore.
Well, freaking out a little is understandable,
Right.
but the book would say, first and foremost, seek medical attention.
Okay.
Make sure you're taking care of the physical injury.
Right.
But then once that's taken care of,
Yeah.
it's time to assess the situation and start dealing with it.
Okay.
What are the practical implications of this broken bone?
Right.
Will you need time off work,
Right.
help with childcare or errands, modifications to your home to make it more accessible?
Right. It's about adapting to this new reality.
Exactly.
Even if it's temporary.
Yes, and the book really emphasizes the importance of flexibility
Okay.
and asking for help. You might need to adjust your schedule, delegate tasks,
Right.
or rely on others more than usual.
Okay.
And this is where those freak-out funds come into play.
Yeah.
If you've been conserving your energy and resources, you'll be better equipped to handle this unexpected challenge.
So it's about being resourceful,
Yes.
leaning on your support system, and remembering that this too shall pass.
Exactly. And remember that triage concept we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
You might have a million things vying for your attention.
All right.
So it's important to prioritize.
Okay.
What are the most urgent needs right now?
Well-
Which tasks can be put on hold?
Yeah.
Which ones can you delegate to someone else?
It's about being strategic
Exactly.
and not letting the overwhelm take over.
That's
I imagine this applies to all sorts of unexpected events,
It does.
not just broken bones.
Absolutely. The book covers a whole range of scenarios,
Right.
from travel mishaps like lost luggage
Right.
to car breakdowns on the way to important events.
Yeah.
And the common thread is this:
Okay.
accept what you can't control. Focus on finding solutions.
Okay.
And maintain a sense of humor whenever possible.
That last part is so important.
It is.
Sometimes a little laughter can be the best medicine,
Yes.
especially when you're dealing with a shitstorm.
Absolutely.
But what about the really big stuff?
Right.
The things that are harder to laugh about,
Yeah.
like, say, death.
Mm-hmm.
That's a universal fear,
It is.
and it can trigger a whole cascade of other anxieties.
Absolutely.
You're right, death is a big one.
Yeah.
And the book doesn't shy away from it.
No, it doesn't.
It actually addresses both the anxiety about the prospect of death
Yes.
and the grief we experience when loved ones pass away.
That's.
I appreciate that the book tackles this head on
Yeah.
because it's something that so many people struggle with.
They do.
What's the book's advice for dealing with death-related anxieties?
Well, it encourages us to acknowledge those fears,
Okay.
to accept that death is a natural part of life,
Right.
and to focus on living our lives to the fullest in the time that we have.
Mm.
It also highlights the importance of finding healthy ways to cope with grief and loss.
Yeah.
Whether it's through therapy, support groups,
Okay.
or simply allowing ourselves to feel those emotions fully.
So it's about embracing the full spectrum of human experience,
Yes.
the joy and the sorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and finding meaning and purpose in our lives, even in the face of loss.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that this book isn't about never experiencing difficult emotions. It's about learning to navigate them with a bit more skill and a lot less suffering.
It sounds like this catalog of terror
Mm.
is actually quite helpful. It's like having a roadmap for dealing with all the messy, unpredictable stuff that life throws our way.
It is. And it's important to remember that this is just a taste of what the book offers.
Right.
There are so many more examples and strategies to explore.
Yeah.
But the core message is this. It is possible to calm the fuck down, even when it feels like the world is falling apart around you.
This has been incredibly insightful,
I'm glad.
but we're not done yet, right?
Right, quite.
There's still more to uncover,
Yes.
especially when it comes to those different freak-out phases
Yeah,
and how to manage them effectively.
exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
You've got your what-if list,
Mhm.
your shitstorm scale, right?
Right.
You even know which freak-out face you tend to wear when things get stressful.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Okay.
How do we actually put all these tools into practice
Right.
and start calming the feck down?
Well, that's where we get into the sort of the nitty-gritty of managing those different freak-out phases.
Right.
Those 4 common ways we react to stress: anxious, sad, angry, and avoidant.
Right.
Because even though the no worries method applies to all of them,
Yeah,
each one needs a slightly different approach.
makes sense. It's like you have a toolbox full of different gadgets.
Yes.
You need to know which one to use for each specific job.
Exactly.
So let's start with the anxious face.
Okay.
That frantic housefly,
Yeah.
buzzing around and unable to settle.
Just can't land.
How do we help them chill out?
The key here is focus.
Okay.
Anxious energy, it's scattered,
Right.
bouncing from one worry to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is to choose one worry
Okay.
and address it.
All right.
The book calls this Miyagiing the situation.
Miyagi.
Yeah, like Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid.
Oh, okay.
Teaching Daniel-san to focus on one task at a time,
Right.
wax on, wax off.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fight off a swarm of worries all at once, we're choosing one,
Yes.
addressing it,
Uh-huh.
and then moving on to the next.
Exactly.
It's about breaking down that overwhelm into manageable steps.
That's it.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
What are some practical tips for Miyagiing our anxieties?
One technique the book suggests is using a timer.
Oh.
Give yourself a set amount of time to worry about a specific issue, maybe 15 minutes.
Right.
Write down everything that's bothering you.
Okay.
Brainstorm possible solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the timer goes off,
Yeah.
move on to something else.
Even if you haven't completely solved the
But
problem.
even if you haven't,
Okay.
because you've given it your focused attention.
Right.
And that's often enough to take the edge off.
It's like giving your worry a designated space and time.
Exactly.
So it doesn't take over your entire day.
That's it.
I can see how that would be helpful for those of us who tend to ruminate on things.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about creating boundaries for your worry
Yes.
instead of letting it run wild.
And then for those moments when anxiety feels really overwhelming,
Yeah.
the book offers a bunch of calming techniques.
Okay, like what?
Deep breathing exercises, yoga,
Okay.
a hot bath,
Nice.
counting to 100.
Right.
Even adult coloring books can help shift your focus and soothe those frayed nerves.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
And I think the key is to find what works best for you, right?
Absolutely.
What works for me might not work for someone else, and that's okay.
Exactly.
It's about experimenting.
Yes.
And finding those tools that help you regain a sense of calm.
That's it.
Now, let's move on to the sad face.
Okay.
Remember that image of someone hitting an emotional wall
Yeah.
and just not having the energy to climb over it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we help them navigate that sadness and find a way forward?
Well, the book really emphasizes self-care here.
Okay.
When sadness takes over,
Yeah.
it's easy to neglect our needs, to
Right.
just want to curl up in a ball and disappear.
Yeah.
But that often makes things worse.
Right.
So instead, it's crucial to prioritize activities that bring joy and comfort,
Okay.
even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
What are some examples of self-care in action?
Yeah.
What kind of things would you recommend for someone struggling with sadness?
It can be anything that nourishes your mind, body, and spirit.
Okay.
Maybe it's taking a long walk in nature, listening to your favorite music,
Yeah.
spending time with loved ones,
Right.
or even just indulging in a delicious meal.
Those are all good ones.
The book also talks about the power of laughter as a mood booster.
Oh, I totally agree. Laughter is definitely good medicine.
It is.
I know when I'm feeling down, a silly cat video or a funny meme
Yeah.
just really shift my perspective.
Absolutely.
It's like a little reminder that even in the midst of sadness, there's still joy to be found.
Exactly. It's about those moments of lightness and connection
Yeah.
that can help us navigate through the darkness.
Now let's shift gears and talk about the angry face.
Ooh, okay.
That erupting volcano spewing hot lava everywhere.
Right.
This one can be a bit more challenging, right?
It can be.
Anger is a powerful emotion,
Yeah,
and it can be hard to control.
absolutely.
I think we've all had those moments, right?
Oh, for sure.
Where anger gets the best of us, and we say or do things we later regret.
Yeah.
So how does the book suggest we handle those, like, fiery eruptions?
Well, the book makes a really interesting point about anger.
Okay.
It says that anger is often a secondary emotion,
Oh, interesting.
masking something deeper,
Okay.
like hurt, fear, or frustration.
So it's not really about the thing we're angry about.
Right.
It's about something else.
Exactly.
So the first step is to identify what's really fueling that anger.
Yes.
What's going on beneath the surface.
That's it. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion,
I like that.
trying to get to the core of what's really bothering us.
But once we've identified that root cause, how do we actually deal with the anger itself?
Well, the book talks about finding healthy outlets for that anger.
Okay.
Ways to express it without hurting ourselves or others.
Right.
Exercise is a great one.
Okay.
It allows you to literally move that energy through your body.
Yeah.
Creative expression can also be really helpful.
Mm.
Whether it's writing, painting, music, or anything that allows you to channel those intense emotions into something constructive.
I see.
And sometimes simply talking it out with a trusted friend or therapist can be incredibly cathartic.
So it's about finding ways to release that pent-up energy
Exactly.
in a safe and productive way
Yes.
instead of letting it build up and explode.
Right. It's about taking charge of your anger
Okay.
instead of letting it take charge of you.
Now let's talk about the last of the freak-out faces.
Okay.
The avoidant face.
Right.
The head-in-the-sand ostrich.
Right.
This one can be tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because avoidance is all about staying in that comfort zone.
Yes.
Even when it's not serving us.
It's like that saying, what you resist persists.
Like,
The more we try to avoid something,
yeah.
the bigger and scarier it seems.
So how do we coax that ostrich out of the sand
Right.
and help them face their fears?
Well, the book suggests a few different strategies.
Okay.
One is to set small, achievable goals
Right.
instead of trying to tackle the whole problem at once.
Yeah.
Break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay.
And then reward yourself for each step you take,
Mm.
even if it's just a small victory.
So it's about making it easier to face those challenges
Exactly.
by focusing on those small wins.
Yes.
Rather than feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of the task.
That's it.
Okay.
And sometimes a little bit of tough love is needed.
Oh, okay.
The book reminds us that avoidance only prolongs the problem
Right.
and often makes it worse in the long run.
It's like delaying the inevitable, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to have to face it eventually.
Yeah.
So why not do it now and get it over with?
Right. And remember, the no worries method is all about taking action,
Okay.
not just passively accepting things.
So even if you're dealing with a situation you can't control, there are almost always steps you can take
Yes.
to manage your reaction,
Right.
minimize the impact, and find a sense of peace amidst the chaos.
Exactly.
This has been such a helpful exploration
I'm glad.
of how to manage those different freak-out faces.
Yeah.
And I think the key takeaway here is that it's not about never experiencing these emotions.
Right.
It's about learning to navigate them in a healthier, more empowered way.
Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that we all have those moments where we freak out.
Yeah.
It's part of being human,
Right.
but with the right tools and a little bit of practice,
Yeah.
we can learn to calm the fuck down, deal with it,
Yeah.
and get on with living our best lives.
I love that. And I think that's the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into Calm the Fuck Down.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope you found it as insightful and helpful as I did.
Me too.
And remember, you've got this. You have the power to choose calm,
You too.
even when the world feels like it's falling apart around you.